David here with Figboot on pens, and today I have another installment of Q&A. Folks submitted some great questions, and I'll get to as many of them as possible here. This last month has been rather hectic for me. I've had actually 3 trips in the last 2 months. I had a trip to California and one to New York, and then last week down to Atlanta for the Atlanta Pen Show. I'm kind of trying to keep up on reviews, and I need to get better about having a couple in the can. I'm typically writing a review during the week and then recording it on Friday night or Saturday morning and then editing and posting it on Saturday afternoon. So typically when you see a review posted, it's pretty hot off the press. It would be a lot less stressful though if I can get a few in the can. So we'll see what I could do about that. I actually have another big family trip coming up next month, so I'm going to need to do my best to work ahead so I'm not stressing out about not posting a video for a week or so. Speaking about trips, to start this off, I wanted to share a short video that I made about my recent trip to New York City. My goal here was to capture a bit of the city and to share some of the sights and places that I visited during the trip. It's short, a little under 3 minutes, so here it is. I hope you enjoy. The music for that video was courtesy of Andrew Applepie, who is a great musician out of Berlin, Germany. You hear his music a lot on like a lot of Casey Neistat vlogs, as well as on videos of a number of other prominent vloggers. He was nice enough to give me permission to use his music, so I'm going to use it every chance I get. If you're interested in hearing more of his music or supporting him, his info is in the notes below. He's great. Most of his work is kind of what's called in the dream pop genre, and I find his music to be very calming. There's kind of times when I like to listen to loud, raucous music, and other times when I just want to chill. And Andrew makes good chill music. Okay, on to some questions. The first question I had was from, well, I had multiple questions. Basically, how did I manage to set up the interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson? I had a number of questions relating to that interview, so I wanted to talk about that for a bit. Now, there's been lots of interviews out there with people from the pen world, but I really couldn't recall seeing an interview with someone well-known outside of the pen world who discussed their interest in the hobby. I took that as a challenge, and, I just thought it would be fun to see if I could get someone to say yes to an interview. If someone else had done the same thing for YouTube or a blog or a podcast, I would have thought it was pretty cool. I would have been jealous that I couldn't do it, but I still would have thought it was pretty cool. And my main goal was that I hope that others thought it was cool if I could pull that off as well. I didn't have any special contacts or anything like that. I was able to get the interview through a lot of hard work, persistence, and some good timing. Dr. Tyson does a lot of interviews, so he's generally open to things like this. Plus, as you saw, he's very passionate about his pens. So I think it was fun for him to talk about an interest rather than something only about his work. It also helped that he was promoting a new book. So he kind of had a period of days blocked off for an increased number of interviews and promotions. He had actually just done Stephen Colbert's show a couple of days before. He did a Reddit AMA the day before the interview, so things like that. I really wasn't nervous about the interview itself or meeting Dr. Tyson. Public speaking doesn't bother me, and I typically don't get that starstruck if I ever meet someone well-known. I had done my research and really mapped out my questions, so I knew that if I kind of kept to the script, that it wouldn't be difficult. He's a professional, and it wasn't going to be difficult to get him to talk about things. 95% of my concern was based around logistics and technical issues. I didn't have a crew. It was just me. I had to set up the 2 cameras, the 2 lights, all of the audio, 2 lava mics in a very cramped space. There was a large round table in front of us that couldn't be moved, and it took up a lot of space. My concerns were, is the camera recording? Is the audio working? Things like that. There's a couple of times you could actually see me look directly at the camera, and that is actually me checking to make sure that the little red light was still on in the camera. At one point I actually had a crippling fear that my mic wasn't even on, so I actually picked it up off the floor to double check. I was able to cover that up with an insert shot though, so it didn't look, at least on camera, that awkward. My biggest fear was to walk out of the interview, check the tape, and have it be unusable or no audio or something like that. It wasn't like I could go back and say, could we do that again? So while from a production aspect, it wasn't necessarily perfect, I thought the end result turned out okay. There was plenty of room for improvement, but I was pretty happy with it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. He was actually running on a tight schedule that day. At the last minute, they requested that we move up the interview a half hour, and we were actually going longer than I had anticipated. And at one point, his assistant started kind of hovering around outside his office. He couldn't see it, his back was to it, but I could see her. And that she kind of had the look of someone looking for him, and that she had a look like he really needed to be someplace else. And it was at that point where I actually asked him to share like one more pen. I said, hey, how about one more or something along those lines? I wanted to respect his time, but he kept going on. He said, let me show you this one. Wait, let me show you this one. Let me show you this one. And at that point, I kind of said to myself, you know what? I tried. If you're late, it's on you, not me. I tried. After we were done, his publicist who was there actually asked for a picture, which I'm glad she did because I really hadn't planned on asking for a picture. But since she was taking one with her camera for her, then it was easy enough for me to have her take one with mine. And then actually Neil asked me what pens I brought with me. I hadn't really anticipated sharing anything with him, but I did have 4 or 5 on me that I showed him, and he was generally interested and very personable. I actually asked him to sign 2 copies of his book that I had, one that I gave away, and apparently he had some deal where he could only sign a specific number of copies, so he couldn't sign them, but he actually inscribed them with a saying that he typically uses when signing books. I did ask for one autograph for a friend who was a huge fan of his, and he did give that to me. He left for his meeting, which left me in the office with all of his pens. He left them behind with me so that I could quickly set up a light box and take all the pictures that you see in the interview. So I took all of the pictures, then I left his pens on his desk, and then packed up all my equipment. Overall, it was a great experience. And, I was present enough in the moment to really enjoy it. As a thank you, I actually sent him a bottle of Iroshizuku Konpeki ink. He had mentioned in the interview that he didn't have tons of inks, so I hope he gets some good use out of it. It's a good ink. Looking forward, I think it would be really fun to do some other interviews. I have a long list of folks that I'd be interested to speak with, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully doing this interview will maybe help me get some others. One thing that wasn't included in the video was I visited the fountain pen hospital. I'm saving that footage for another video that I'll do in the near future. I thought that place warranted a bit more information and detail. Okay, that was a long answer to the first question, but that was a lot of things that I wanted to go over. Okay, next question, actually two questions. Lee Gribben asked, how many bottles of ink do you own? And then Jeanette Chu asked, how many fountain pens do you own and how many do you use on a regular basis? Well, the collection currently sits at 195 pens and 114 bottles of ink, and that's full bottles, not counting samples. I currently have like 90 pens, which are in my rotation. I've talked about it before, but I have a spreadsheet called the EDC log, the everyday carry log, where I keep track of my collection. I log each pen that I use on a daily basis, and I can kind of see how long it's been since I have used a specific pen in my rotation. If you're interested in a tool like that, I'll put a link to in the notes below to the video where I go over the tool, and you can download it for free. But actually, lately I've been considering paring back my collection a great deal. I'm kind of at the point where I'd rather have a smaller collection with pens I just love, as opposed to a larger collection containing lots of pens that I don't feel a strong connection to. So there's a good potential that later on this year I might just have a big pen sale. The next question was from Sean Guster, and it was, are there other personalities in the pen realm that you follow closely in regard to reviews, and are there folks that you'd like to meet or collaborate with in the near future? When I started out in this hobby, I devoured video reviews. If I was thinking about purchasing a pen, I would go out and watch every video I could find on it. I felt like I watched almost every video from Stephen Brown and Matt Armstrong and tons from Brian Goulet. If it wasn't for those guys, I wouldn't be doing this. Watching their videos was the impetus for me beginning to do this myself. I've been a guest on Matt's channel a couple of times, and Mike Madison from Inkdependence and I recently did a music nib collaboration that was a lot of fun. I will say that lately I haven't been watching as many reviews as I had previously. It's not that I'm not interested. It just kind of boils down to the fact that I'm busy creating my own content, and I kind of try to shy away from watching reviews of pens that I'm purchasing from or other people's reviews of pens, so that I can kind of form my own opinion about it rather than just parroting back what another reviewer felt about something. But if something interesting presents itself, I'm typically down for a collaboration. There's lots of folks out there making some really great content. The next question here is from Jeff Shannon, who asks, how would you fill a pen if you are close to the bottom of a bottle? The best thing to do is pick up one of these syringes. Goulet has them, Anderson Pen has them, and there's many places that carry these. Now, the needle here is a blunt tip, so it's not like it's super sharp or anything, but these are really handy. I use them for transferring ink from one container to another. If I'm ever giving out some ink samples, then this is what you use to fill up the little vials. Or you use this to fill an eyedropper pen. And these syringes are pretty much a must-have tool in your collection. The same thing with these bulb syringes. Whenever you're cleaning out your pens, being able to use one of these to force water through the feed and the nib helps get all the excess ink out of there in an efficient manner. But if you are getting close to the bottom of a bottle, like I'm getting close to the bottom of my Konpeki bottle here, don't know how well you can see that. But when you can't get the nib in here any longer, then you can use this syringe to pull out the ink, and then you can manually fill up your a cartridge that you refill, or fill up your converter or your eyedropper. You really can't fill up a piston filler like that unless you transfer this to a smaller container that then you can use for your piston filler. But this is a really valuable tool. The next question, the next question I thought was interesting, is from Julio, and his question is that he says he lives in Guatemala and it's really hard to find fountain pens and inks. He says I have to order them for the U.S. and it's very expensive. Having just graduated from college, I'm kind of broke right now. My question is, I'm really obsessed with the fountain pen hobby and end up spending way too much money importing all the great stuff that you and all the other bloggers talk about. Do you think I should continue to do that, or wait for a time in my life when I'm more financially capable of spending money? How much of the hobby am I missing out on because of this? Now, this question ties into one of my biggest regrets in regard to my collection. Once the fountain pen bug hit me, I really went from 1 to 100 really quick. I was having 3 and 4 pens show up to my house every week. And my regret in my journey was that I really didn't spend enough time with some of those entry and mid-level pens as I should have. My advice would be to take the time and enjoy what you have, and don't be concerned about what others have in their collection. There will always be someone out there who has a bigger and better collection than yours, no matter what the size and value of your collection is. Keep the hobby within your means. Pens will always be there. And then once you're more established and you have additional disposable income, then pick up a few more things. Maybe tie pens to certain milestones and goals, so that then that way those pens will actually have more sentimental value for you as well, because you'll tie them back to those personal experiences and accomplishments in your life. The next question is from 0927 Holly, who says, can you recommend an entry-level gold nib pen in the $150 price range? If you are looking to pick up your first pen with a gold nib, a good place to start is the Pilot Custom Heritage 92. This is a great pen. It's a clear demonstrator that's a piston filler, and the Pilot gold nibs are very, very nice. I was actually able to find this this week at a very large online retailer for around $140, so that's in the $150 range. Pilot gold nibs are fantastic and some of my favorite. So the Custom Heritage 92 is a great place to start, in my opinion, when it comes to a gold nib pen. Okay, 2 more questions. This one is from Raymond Trong, and he said, if you lost your entire pen and ink collection and you had $200 to rebuild your collections, what pens and inks and papers would you buy? And that importing from overseas is allowed. I like this question. It caused me to really think about the pens that would provide the most amount of enjoyment for the least amount of money. Kind of what's the biggest bang for the buck? So this is what I settled on. First of all, I'd need some paper. So I would pick up 2 of these number 18 Rhodia pads. So that would last me for a little bit. These are $9 each, and I use these all the time. In regard to ink, I don't have any on me, but they sell a 350 milliliter bottle of Pilot Blue Black ink for $20. Like I said, I don't own that bottle, but it would be an economical way to pick up a large amount of a decent ink at a reasonable price. 350 milliliters should last you for quite some time. So that leaves $153 for pens. And the question would be, how many pens to get? Do you want a few nicer pens, or do you want more of a variety? So I kind of ended up going in the middle. I ended up choosing 3 pens. And those 3 were, the first one was for $40, the Faber-Castell Lume. Then the next pen I chose, which is $50, is the TWSBI Diamond 580. And then the last pen I chose for $65 is the TWSBI VAC 700. With these, you also get 3 different types of filling systems. You have the cartridge converter of the loom, then you have the piston filler of the 580, and then you have the 700, which is a vacuum filler. So that puts my total at $193, leaving me $7. And actually with that, I would actually pick up some syringes and a bowl syringe, which you could get both of these for around $7 combined. And that those would be useful tools to clean and maintain your pens. So if I had to live with that collection for a while, I don't think it would be too bad. That each of those 3 pens are a lot of fun, and I don't think that I would get sick or tired of using them. So the last question I had was from Matthew Beto, and his question is, what's your favorite thing about the fountain pen hobby? And I think that my favorite thing about the fountain pen hobby is that you can be an enthusiast at any level. The barrier to entry is pretty low. Whether you own a single pen or you have 1,000 pens in your collection, you can be a part of this community. And that the vast majority of folks are very, very supportive. You know, on Reddit on a regular basis, someone will be excited about the Metro that they just purchased for their very first pen, or the Jinhao they just purchased for their very first pen, and everyone will congratulate them, and that's great. So I really enjoyed the diversity of the group, and that sometimes seeing the hobby through the eyes of someone just getting started can be a lot of fun as well. Okay, I think that'll do it for this Q&A session. Thanks for all your questions. I wanted to try and do these a little more often in the future, maybe around once a month or so. We'll see. If you have questions for future Q&As, please feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.